Hey, Glitter Jasmine girl, and I don't know how many of you guys are aware, but I am answering replies under my thank you for 200 subscribers video, just as a thank you to my community, because you guys have been so amazing to me, all my traumatized girlies, and I really love to see the support, especially as I'm, on my new platform, with something that has always sparked my interest, and like, just to see myself as a part of the community is amazing. But I read your reply and I read your question, Jasmine, and when you said like milestones that feel out of reach, nothing is ever outside of your reach. If you're ever feeling lacking in regards to, oh, when will I get married? When will I have kids? And you know that I am a woman that did this to myself. And you've seen me, Glitter Jasmine, you've been one of my subscribers for like years, and you've seen me in the trenches, and you see me now. As a person who used to have a similar mindset, I believe we might be on the same wavelength. I know that you mentioned the language barrier, but I think that I understand where you're coming from. I really do hope so. But as far as feeling like things are outside of your reach or unattainable to you yet, and you just don't know when it's going to come, when am I going to be married? When will I have children? When will I have this career? There's nothing outside of you, darling. And this is something that I had to come into realization with once, I've had changes in my life, and I really had to sit with myself. I'm talking about sit in the stillness. And honestly, in manifestation, it's pretty much like stripping yourself of your old identity and detaching, because you realize everything is just an assumption. Everything is just a perception. Everyone and everything is only reflecting you on a day-to-day basis, meaning people are only going to give you what you assume of them and your thoughts and your perceptions. And once you elevate your self-concept and tell yourself that you are worthy of, marriage, you are worthy of children, you are worthy of commitment, you are worthy of, safety, basic provision. I'm gonna try not to spew too many of my limiting beliefs about men, okay, in this video, because I do have some beliefs about men, and honestly, it's just facts. If you look at the patriarchy and how shit has been really stacked up against women, and how we've been under the illusion of finding a Prince Charming that essentially does not exist, especially in regards to self-concept. It's like these men are only going to respond to who we're being. So if we're coming in with low self-esteem, or low expectations, or we're lowering our standards, like how I talked about the ugly men being some of the worst ones because they don't take care of themselves, so they're not going to take care of you, right? It's a mirror. That's the mirror effect. That's the mirror that I'd be talking to y'all about. It's a self-love thing, really, girl. It's really a self-love thing. And I'm not saying this because I know that some people, when they first hear this, they take it as like an attack, like, oh, what do you mean I don't love myself? I mean, you don't love yourself to a point of where you stop seeking outside of yourself for validation, approval, commitment, love, all of these things, because only you can give yourself those things truly. And if you find yourself in relationship after relationship, and it's a cycle, and you notice these toxic patterns, and these back and forth, these horrible fights, or like the fucking post-separation abuse where they try to come for you after the fucking relationship is done. Oh my God. And it don't even matter if you guys have been together for a long time, if you guys were friends, you guys have fucking kids together, and I'm speaking from experience. It's actually a very pathetic thing. It's miserable out here, bro. And your life won't change until you start showing up for you relentlessly and unapologetically. Because especially if you are a traumatized girl and you've endured a lot of trauma, a lot of heartbreak already, and let's say you've been traumatized from friendships, family dynamics, relationships, jobs, you need to sit with yourself and start valuing yourself more and loving yourself more. Start giving yourself those things. Just because you haven't been married yet does not mean it's outside of you. Doesn't mean it's not ever going to happen for you. But perhaps maybe marry yourself, sis. The fact that when you complimented me on my ring, and honestly, I know I'm talking to Glitter Jasmine because I'm responding to her, but all you girls who are watching and can relate, just keep listening. When you complimented me on this ring, because of my sponsorship, honey, You saw it. This sponsorship didn't come in until after I was separated from my previous relationship for several months, and I started focusing on myself. And it was one of the first jewelry sponsorships I had even gotten in a long time. It had been almost a year since I last talked about jewelry on my main channel. That wasn't a coincidence. Just like the whole I buy myself flowers things. I take myself out on dates now. Like, yeah, I'll take myself to the movies. I'll try out a nice restaurant. I'll try out a nice thing. I do it for myself now. Okay? I've always wanted to get into real estate. So, might as well take advantage in studying for my license. Okay? And I started pursuing this when I was like low-key in a bit of the trenches myself still. After separating from my previous relationship because of the post-separation. Fuck shit. And I didn't care. And I didn't care because I knew I deserved better. Okay? And I knew that in order for me to manifest a completely different life and lifestyle for not only myself but for my child, and as a woman who wants more kids, and I've always seen myself with the big old family and all of that, regardless of what happened with the previous person and in the previous relationship and all those previous people who I used to be attached to, I don't give a fuck, because one thing is for certain: not only do they know that they're wrong, but I know I never deserved a lot of that fuck shit that was thrown my way, especially when I was in one of my most vulnerable states. And I'm talking about pregnancy and postpartum. I finally woke up for myself enough to realize that no woman on earth, and unfortunately it happens to women everywhere and it happens too often, that they end up being abused, neglected, threatened, all these things during their most vulnerable states. And it actually makes me sick to my fucking stomach. And because I also used to be of the mindset, when will I have children? When will I get married? And I used to feel like almost this desperation for it, to where I kept reaching outside of myself and almost trying to force my reality into my will. And what's weird is when I actually was just chilling and didn't give a fuck, I told you guys that's how I got pregnant. I wasn't necessarily trying, like it wasn't very intentional, but like, whoa. And then my pregnancy went relatively smooth, honestly, with the fibroids moving out of the way. I mean, you guys know I had my, morning sickness and stuff and all that, but it ended up being not only a relatively easy experience. That's why I want more kids. I'm not all like whatever from childbirth, I don't really care, but it was one of the most beautiful experiences in my life. One of the most beautiful experiences in my life. And that's why I don't care about what happens with that previous person. And it doesn't matter what he tries to do, what he says. It doesn't even matter what the fuck he thinks. Yes, that will always be my child's father. But as far as my personal reality and my life and what I deserve, and me trying to be a better woman for me, as well as a better parent for my child, his influence is null and void, because he no longer aligns with who I am now because of who he was when I was in my most vulnerable state. Does that make sense? I love myself enough to cut those ties. I love myself enough to stop looking outside of myself for commitment. I love myself enough to be here for myself. I love myself enough to pursue my goals and dreams, which is Traumatized, Girlie. I've always wanted to help women in this way. I've always wanted to be active in the manifestation community and be one of the faces in this community, and I am. And I always wanted to study real estate, and I am. I've always wanted to, live in a certain, area, and I finally am. I'm finally moving towards that as well. And that's insane. And as a woman who, when I separated from my previous situation, it will be about a year coming up here in a few months. This is the level of diligence, integrity, patience, and relentlessness I'm talking about, y'all, when it comes to adjusting your mindset, elevating and ascending, and cutting all ties and not giving a fuck in regards to manifesting your new life. Y'all, a year ago, I was even fucking driving just to be gifted a car for the holidays. You know what I mean? Life shows up for you when you start showing up for you. Stop looking outside of yourself for when is marriage or when is this milestone going to happen, and start loving on yourself as you are. Start seeing yourself for who and what you are. Start showing up for yourself every single day, regardless of what anyone says, thinks. And if somebody tries to come and shit on you, then I'm gonna show up for myself extra that day, because I know sure as fuck I ain't deserve that bullshit, right? There's nothing outside of you, and that's really the point. And it's nothing for you to internalize or feel bad about, especially when you start seeing through shit and seeing through people out here, right? Some people don't get married until their 40s, 50s, and 60s. Some people get married super early and regret it. Some people are together for 30 or 40 years and they've never been married, but they would never change it because they just love each other that much. Some women don't even want to get married. It doesn't make either of those people wrong, now does it? Just like how I was a woman and I always wanted to have a child and I didn't know if I could. I was fucking told I was going to have all these problems and go through all this shit and and might not and get the fertility treatment and ended up being fine and was just fine. Girl, did it make me wrong for getting pregnant and having my child my way? Or the women who do get fertility treatments, or the women who aren't able to have children so they adopt, or the women who don't want kids? Neither of them are wrong. It's their choice. There's nothing outside of us. You see, when you start making peace with who and how you are and what you are as a woman and as a person, and loving on yourself as is, that is when your life will start showing up for you naturally. So Glitter Jasmine, like, I love you, girl, and I really hope this video helps. But it's really a self-love thing. Start loving on yourself. Start saying, you know what, I'm gonna do whatever the fuck Jasmine wants to do today. I'm gonna start showing up for Jasmine. What would Jasmine want to do? What does Jasmine see her life coming to? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if you journal or whatever it is, but you know, even when you're going through shit, because you're gonna realize that even a lot of those perceived problems aren't worth your fucking awareness, like your energy at all. Like, I got, you know, negative shit or motherfuckers trying to come at me with negative shit in my background, but you see that that's why they're in the background. They're not in my forefront, and they will never be in my forefront. And I give a fuck what happens. I give a fuck about the outcome. I give a fuck about the circumstances, because circumstances don't matter. And when you're of that mindset, you gotta apply it in real life, and you gotta show up like the shit don't matter in order for the shit to shift and change, especially in your favor. Start showing up for self. Start showing up for you. Question, you know, who you are. Like, what's your identity? Who do you see yourself as? Who have you always known yourself to be? What are some of your most, you know, valuable, like, wildest desires that maybe you thought that you couldn't achieve, but now that you have a healthier mindset and a healthier relationship with yourself, maybe you want to just be daring enough to go and achieve that shit. Maybe you want to just go and be, you know, like, you know what, I'm gonna show up for Jasmine today. What would Jasmine like? Y'all see how I treat myself to that Starbucks all the time? Y'all see how I get myself them flowers all the time? And you see how I take myself out and I'm still out here living life? Doesn't matter who I'm with or if I'm by myself, because I take myself out a lot now, okay? Mind you, there ain't nobody's company that I enjoy better than myself, honestly, because I just like to be chilling. But even in dating, like, you guys see, like, how even as I've been dating, and I'm not even sleeping with anyone, right? You don't have to sleep with anybody, right? Like, first of all, I don't feel comfortable after everything that I've gone through. And second of all, I trust and I know that the men who want to show up for me aren't going to look at me in a lustful way. And fortunately, I've been taken out and I've been treated well without having to give anything up, because as women, we shouldn't have to. It was never about that in the beginning. We had to just value ourselves a little more. So start showing up for you and doing what you want to do unapologetically and see what happens. I hope this helps, and I love you, girl. Mwah.